Now you mentioned the commission report, and just maybe you could explain a little bit more what a commission report is. What the result of that was, and why you decided to convert the commission report into a book itself.
Mm-hmm. Sure. When in the days and weeks after the play, we started just writing back and forth to each other, and then when we decided let's take a serious look at this, we decided to create a commission, almost like the Warren Commission, study every aspect of the play. As a matter of fact, study the whole event around Wrigley Field. And so that's what we did. And over a period of, now we're leading up to 8 years, we created a commission report. It's about 180 pages. And we looked at a baseball play in such detail that I think has never been looked at before. We looked at every angle, aspect of the play, all the characters, the environment, the rules. We focused on one play, and it's probably the most exhaustive look at a play in baseball history, I think. Mm-hmm. And then we decided, when the movie Catching Hell came out, that maybe there's a way we could get some of our work out there so people can kind of see it. Now, do they want to flip through this commission report? I'm not sure. I think it would bore a lot of people. It's very technical. We get into the nitty-gritty of this stuff, and it wouldn't be all that entertaining. So Tom can tell you about how we took the commission report and then turned it into a book.
When we were, we can explain how we got contacted for the film.
Sure.
I think you have more input on that.
Sure. Well, in the commission report, we tried to get a marketplace of ideas. We just didn't want it to be Tom and I and our opinion, because we're Cub fans. So we had a couple Sox fans. We had a Marlins fan give their opinions. We had an independent fan from South Dakota who was at the game give his opinion. He was an outsider. And then there were two professors, Yale economists, PhD economists. And what they did is they did their own analysis, which appeared in the paper in the days after the play. And they determined that it was the Alex Gonzalez error that had more of an impact on the outcome of the game than did the Bartman play. And boy, we saw that and we're like, gosh, we need to reach out to those guys. And I did. I sent them the version of the commission report that we had at the time. But I also talked to them and I said, look, I agree from a math and statistical viewpoint that everything you said is right. But we don't think that Gonzalez would have made an error if there had been 2 outs instead of 1. For one, he wouldn't have been in a rush to turn a double play. 2, I'm not even sure a ball gets hit to shortstop because you pitch the next batter differently. You might pitch him on the outside corner. He taps him over to first. There's no double play situation. And they pretty much agreed with me. They said, you can never know what would happen after the fact. But at the end of the day, ESPN did a special. I think it was like a half-hour special, like 6 reasons not to blame Bartman or whatever the reason or the name was. But ESPN interviewed these professors, and they said, yeah, it was the Gonzalez error had more of an impact on the outcome. But he goes, if you really want to get into this play, you got to talk to these guys in Chicago. They formed this commission to study the play, and they've got this exhaustive understanding of it. So that's how it kind of came end around. When we heard there was going to be this movie, we were glad to participate in it.
Right. And so we were contacted probably 2 years ago, kind of out of the blue, asked us if we wanted to be interviewed for this film that they were working on. And we said yes, glad to do it. And we kind of showed up at this hotel suite one day, and no rehearsal, no explanation,
No makeup,
just you guys stand over in the corner here. Here's a chalkboard if you want to do some diagrams. And then they just started asking a bunch of questions. But one of the questions they asked was, well, what happened with the commission report? And at that time, Walter and I hadn't really finished it. We've been working on it for 8 years, and we continually talked about it and analyzed and reanalyzed, and every time there was a new piece of information, we would go back and think, all right, did we cover this? Did we think this through? So it never had really been completed. So After we found out, which was only about 6 months ago, that a piece of our interview actually made it into the final film, then I think we both thought, well, maybe we should finish this thing because it looks like people are going to see something about a commission report in a film, and it would be nice to get it finished. So that's when we thought, okay, well, let's put it into book form. And as Walt said before, to read a commission report wouldn't be very, interesting, but we think we did a good job putting it into book form, putting different spins on it, trying to be a little bit entertaining with it, and turn it into something of a historical perspective of what happened, and also have some fun with the game.
Yeah, and I might add that we've heard from the Hall of Fame. We understand that they put all baseball books into the Hall of Fame library, but they also asked if they could have a copy of the original commission, which we're going to be excited to give to them. What our work is and what we've done is going to be part of the historical record, and quite frankly, that's what we were out for from the beginning.
Right.
And one of the questions that came up in the film was what makes you guys qualified to write the commission report and now this book. And other than being Cub fans, why do you think it should be you who are putting forth this historical record?
Right. Well, I think one of the reasons it's taken 8 years to write it was I kept thinking other people would write something. I thought, okay, somebody's going to wake up and say, wait a minute, there was an injustice here. Bartman clearly shouldn't have been blamed. Other people have done the same thing. But certainly people in baseball, authors, sports writers, somebody would step forward and write about the conclusion, or at least talk about the issue the way Walter and I were looking at it. But as time went on, nobody was doing it. Nobody was trying to address what we thought was the core root of the problem. And that problem is the rules. The rules in Major League Baseball are pretty complicated, poorly written, and the conclusion we reached early on was that the umpire should have called the batter out. The umpire blew the call, but at the same time, when you look at the rules, it's pretty hard to decipher these rules and make sense out of it. So that got us to thinking about, okay, well, who's writing the rules? Should these rules be looked at? What are the umpires reading, and how are they being trained? And it just took us, one step after another. But the bottom line is that, Walter's played baseball, and I'd like for him to talk about his baseball career. I've played baseball. Not as successful as Walter, but we watch a lot of games. We're passionate Cubs fans. We're baseball junkies. But because this whole play sort of centers on the rule, because we're attorneys, we thought that, who better able to read a rule, explain the rule, apply the rule to the facts of what happened, and then come to a conclusion. And we thought that our legal training put us in a good spot to be able to talk about that.
Sure, and just getting into some of our background, I played baseball, I played in high school, I was on a state championship team, was an all-state player, and I know you're all happy for me. But I did go on, I played in college, and it was a full-time career for me. I was playing it in the summers and the falls, you name it, I played a lot of baseball. And when I got done playing baseball, I watched it every day. I was watching not only the Cubs and the White Sox, but games around the league. And I watched probably more baseball than did a lot of scouts. I mean, there are fans out there in Wrigley Field, and probably not as many on the south side, but there are very intelligent fans out there. No offense to some real smart Sox fans, but just all kidding aside, there's no reason why we can't look at the rule and come up with a conclusion. I don't know that you necessarily have to have been on the field to independently look at a rule, look at a play, and apply the play to the rule and come up with a conclusion. Mm-hmm. And I think we're starting to see that now more and more with some of the hires in the executive level of baseball. Or it's not necessarily the guys that had Major League Baseball experience, but they're coming out of the good colleges and universities, bright guys, mathematicians. They're finding their way into the game.
Mm-hmm. In some cases, attorneys, people who've got their law degrees. I think lawyers are trained to develop strong analytical skills, and I think that's what put us in a good position to read the rule, try to make sense of it, and then analyze how it fits in. And we think that there's a lot of work to be done. One of the things that, you know, we'll talk about in the book is, you know, what are we trying to accomplish here? One of the things is to have Major League Baseball take a look at these rules again. This is just one rule, but, you know, I think we feel confident that there's a lot of rules in here that need to be looked at in terms of writing.
I mean, are we qualified? We think we are. Are a lot of other people qualified to do the same thing? You betcha. So I
Yeah.
don't think we're alone in this.
Right.